What's up everybody, welcome back or to the channel. So today we're going to be starting a new project, which is going to be framing out my basement walls because I plan on finishing my basement. And this area over here behind me is going to be the future theater room slash golf simulator room. So we're going to be working on at least framing out the walls. So let's jump in and show you what we're working with. Okay, so as you can see over here, I already have a bunch of 2x4x10s stacked up in the basement. Over here is the room that we're going to start. So I already fixed up my water line coming in from the main line because from the builder who built this house 8 years ago, they had a few extra elbows in here that I didn't really like and I wanted to keep it a little bit more flush against the wall, so I fixed that. And I will be probably later today or tomorrow, I'm going to be disconnecting this plumbing line because it was run this way across the middle of the ceiling, but I disconnected the fittings there because I'm going to disconnect it and run it behind the beam and up through here, because eventually this area here is going to be a drop ceiling that covers all that up. So I want to try to keep all my water lines and ductwork and plumbing lines under this ceiling here. But here I wanted to keep as much out of the ceiling as possible. So as you can see on the wall, we already have the blanket insulation from the builder, but I have read that different people have different opinions on whether you should keep it or get rid of it. I am actually just going to take my chances and keep it because, for one, I don't feel like ripping it all off and wearing a mask and dealing with all of that insulation because I hate working with insulation. But being that it's already faced with a moisture barrier here, I'm just going to keep it mounted on the wall as it is and frame up against it. I'm not going to press the frame onto it because if you press up against it, you're going to reduce the performance of the insulation. So I'm just going to build my 2x4 walls out and just have them sit up just against it. And then that way I have plenty of room to work for running on my electrical wiring and so forth. That's going to be a good moisture barrier. That's also going to give me some R value in helping keep my basement more comfortable and cozy. So what we're going to start on today is just basically framing out the walls. Now again, I'm not a professional carpenter by trade. I'm pretty much just more of a DIY guy. When it comes to the framing, I have 2x4x10s. I'm going to frame them on the floor. Some people say frame them on the wall. I personally am just going to frame it on the floor. So what I'm going to do is I got my bottom plate, my top plate, and I have to just take a measurement from the floor to the floor joist up here at the first floor and get my measurement and then subtract out the 3 inches, 1.5 inches for the bottom plate, 1.5 inches for the top plate, cut my 2x4s, build my outside studs and all my inside studs every 16 inches. So that's what we're going to do. Now this wall is going to be a little bit more tricky. So again, this particular wall is not going to be exactly perfect in terms of straight up and down wall studs every 16 inches. I'm going to have to do a little bit of custom blocking to get around those areas. But other than that, the rest of the basement should be pretty much easy when it comes to putting my wall studs every 16 inches. I just got to clean up some area over here, dig out my DeWalt saw over here. I'm going to pull that out, and that way I can start getting some of these wall studs cut. And that's basically what we're going to do. So again, the goal is to finish this basement. This is pretty much just going to be more of the theater room slash golf simulator room. I'm going to hang a big screen over here. That'll be a separate video on doing that. This is probably going to be more of the ping pong or pool table area. This area here is probably going to be more like a bar area. And then over here where I have my current golf practice net area, that'll probably just be some other area. This whole area over here is going to end up being framed off for storage. So this is going to be a pretty big project that I'm working on. I'm doing it myself to save money. But again, I like doing these type of DIY projects because again, you could get more bang for your buck and get more for less money just by doing the work yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started and film clips along the way. So stay tuned because this is step 1 of a future finished basement and golf simulator room. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is find my ceiling height. Now again, I have 9-foot ceilings, but keep in mind, in case you build a house and you have 9-foot basement ceilings or taller, it's typically not truly 9 foot because it's usually going to be 9 foot from the footer to the ceiling. But then you're typically going to have 3 to 4 inches of concrete poured on your basement floor. So you figure if you have 9 feet, you're going to subtract out roughly 4 inches, and that's going to be your actual ceiling height. So typically 9 foot would give you about 108 inches. But if we subtract out roughly 4 inches or so of concrete, we should have about 104, 105. I was actually measuring about 105 inches, but again, it wasn't exactly a straight line because my measuring tape was bowing a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just a little trial and error. I'm gonna measure my first board from top to the floor at 106 inches, which I've already done. So I measured it here, brought it out to 106 inches, used my speed square there, and drew my line. Because the main thing I want to do is start big and keep working my way back until I get the exact height. Because of the blanket insulation, it's hard to get a good measurement straight up and down. So I'm going to start with 106 inches and keep making adjustments till I can get my first board exactly where it needs to be to fit from the floor joist to the floor. Then whatever that number is, which I assume is going to be around 105 inches, then I'm going to subtract 3 inches, which would be the 1.5 inches for the bottom plate and 1.5 inches for the top plate. Then that way, this main wall stud will fit between my top plate and my bottom plate. Then I can start cutting the rest at that height. And then once I do that, we can start putting our first wall together. So let me just get started in determining my exact ceiling height, and then we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I ended up cutting my first board here. And as you can see, sitting on the bottom plate, I have just enough room up there to do my top plate, give or take a 1/16 of an inch, which is fine for wood expansion and so forth. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a few more boards at 103 inches and start working on this particular wall frame right here. Let me get a few more boards cut and figure out a few adjustments to get at least around the electrical box and so forth, and we'll be back here shortly. Okay, so now that we have a general idea of the height of our wall studs, I'm going to start marking out my bottom and top plates for my 16-inch on-center framing. Now again, I'm not a professional carpenter. I'm sure professional carpenters have much faster, more efficient ways of doing this. But again, this is how I do it. Now what I did was I left a space here because this is going to be the corner over there. And I'll show you in a minute what my goal is and why I'm trying to do it that way. But I'm going to start my first corner, my first wall stud right here in, because my other 2x4 at the other corner of the wall is going to sit like this, and that wall stud is going to sit right at the edge right here. So again, the whole goal is if that is my corner, I'll have a wall stud there, and I'm going to have a wall stud right here. That way for drywall, I have a stud to hit, and this is really just a wasted corner. And now you should probably double block that, but because of the cost of lumber nowadays, I'm trying to do this as efficiently as I can. So I'm trying to reduce the amount of wood needed. So this is just going to be a wasted corner right here, but you'll see in a minute what I'm trying to do. Then what I do is I mark my first stud, 1.5 inches for my first stud. Then what I do is I just take a measuring tape from the outside edge right there. I come over 14.5 inches, mark it at 16, and keep moving on. The outside edge, go to 14.5, mark it at 16, and then I put an X right in the middle because that center point is actually going to be 16-inch on center. So again, if you measure from the center point of my X over here to the center point of my X there, it ends up being 16 inches. So again, I just do that all the way down the board, and I'll be doing that on all the bottom plates and top plates. That way, when I start framing out this wall on the floor, I know exactly where my studs have to fall in place. So let me continue working on this and we'll be back in a minute. Now just another tip, when you're spacing out your 16-inch on center spacing, what I do is I lay my bottom plate, I get that marked up, then I'll take my top plate, line it up exactly, and then I'll just take my speed square from the bottom, line it up with the top one, and draw my lines. I don't even have to measure, because as long as the boards are lined up real good, I just go ahead and do that to speed things up. So just a little tip there. Okay, and just to go over a little bit of the hardware that I'll be using to actually put these boards together and mount them to the ceiling and the floor. I just have some leftover stuff that I've done on different projects. So I had a whole extra box of these common nails, the 10D 3 inches, which are perfectly fine for putting through some 2x4s. Maybe a 3.5 if you had them. If you want, that's perfectly fine as well. But again, I had this full box laying around as leftover from a previous project, so I'm just going to go ahead and use those. Then to get them into the floor, I'm not going to be doing it every, at every 16 inches, but probably every 3 feet or 4 feet. I'm going to go ahead and put one of these Tapcons in, which basically comes with a drill bit. You can actually just drill right through the 2x4 and right into the floor, the concrete floor, all right? And then they have these special concrete screws with like a hex nut bit head, and then you just drill right through it, and then this screw goes right into the concrete. So that's what I'll be using on the bottom floor plate on the floor. So again, we'll be using nails to get them mounted to the top, and then we'll be doing some Tapcons along the bottom every, say, 3 or 4 feet, just to keep the bottom from shifting around. So that'll be later, but again, I just wanted to go over while I had the chance what I'll be using to put that all together. So let me continue on, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back so far, and I got at least this section framed out. Now again, I did leave it a little bit further from the wall because I'm trying to go over top of this right here. So I pretty much measured the back of the bottom plate 4 inches from the wall. So technically my outer wall out here will be 8 inches from the wall, and that gives me clearance from the water pipe. I will have to finish framing out the window a little better later on. So again, that makes everything a lot simpler, so I don't have to take down the blanket insulation. I don't have to worry about breaking out any of the pressure nails out of the wall. I don't have to worry about cutting and blocking anything around the actual water line there. I don't have to do anything major with the electric box. Now again, I did keep everything pretty much 16-inch on center, except for this one here. I had to off-center it to fit the electric box. I just had to move some of my cable wiring, move that from about here over to there, which was simple. It just screws on and off. Everything else lines up real good. I already had some blocking up here to attach my top plate to, so I added some extra blocking over here, and then I'll have to add some more blocking along that wall there. But once I get on this back wall or the front wall, I have plenty of floor joists to actually nail the top plate to. But at least in this side wall, I have to put some additional blocking up there. And what I mean by that is just like that. Okay, that board right there. Just something like that that goes from your outside rim board here to the inside floor joist. So I did it there, and then I added another one up here. It just gives you something that you can nail your top plate to. So again, I did that, and then down on the floor. So again, you just drill a hole right to the 2x4 into the concrete. So I did a few of there along there. So again, this is nice and sturdy, ain't going anywhere. And then I just blocked out around the top window there. So again, I'll add some additional blocking and frame that in better at a later date, but at least I got that much started. So that part is done. Then I just have to continue along this wall and then continue along that wall. So that's what I've done so far. And then what I'll do is, like I said before, the reason I left that first 2x4 offset from the wall is because when I start my next, I'll just grab this scrap piece here. When I start the next wall, it'll be just like that. And that way, when I hang drywall, the corners will have something to bite into when I screw in the corners. Because again, nothing really goes back in the corner. So I didn't want to waste another piece of wood and double block that corner when I really don't need to. There's nothing load bearing there. So that's what we got so far. So far, so good. It's coming along fine. I knew this wall was going to be just a little tricky and take me a little extra time because I had to measure out, frame out around a few things here. But pretty much the rest of the walls are easy. I mean, when I get over here, frame out, block out around that window. But pretty much the rest of the walls, I don't have to really worry about anything. It's pretty much just 16-inch on center wall studs. But this is step one of my finished basement project, is just framing out all the walls. So let me continue on and we'll be back here shortly. Okay, and in case you're wondering, when I do get around to drywalling all this, which is probably not going to be for another couple months because I got to get the whole basement framed, and then I want to get all my electrical done, and then I will start working on drywall. But I'll probably do a little bit of framing around here. I'll block this out a little bit better, and then I'll take the door panel off. So when I drywall, I'll put the door panel on the very end, and then it'll be flush to the front wall. Then for my water, I'm not going to block that out. What I'm probably going to do is just leave the wall like that. But what I am going to do is probably after I drywall it, I'm going to cut maybe a foot tall piece, like panel, maybe some wood or some plywood or something like that. And then put some hinges on here. So basically I'll have a little door flap that'll lift up so that I have access to my water line. So that's the ultimate goal there. But again, that's going to come at a later date. Okay, so we're done for today. I got this whole wall done over here, and I got this whole wall done over here. Everything's level, and I did put blocking up in the top of the wall to mount the top rail here to the blocking, as you can see here. I put a few of those on the top, blocked out quickly around the window, pulled this side wall about 4 inches from the wall so it would clear the water pipe and all the insulation. Everything's lined up. I got the anchors all across the bottom into the concrete, and I have them mounted all the way across the top as well. So basically this whole room here is all framed out. Okay, and then what I'll continue to do is just keep framing out the rest of the basement. But I just wanted to film this room just to show you, again, you can do this stuff yourself at home. You just have to get the wood, do a little research, read some articles online, watch YouTube, whatever not, and you could do this yourself. Now, I'm not done with the water pipe yet. Tomorrow, I'm gonna actually go out and buy another piece of PEX tubing, get a couple elbows and a couple shark bite T-fittings. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the water off, cut into this line, drain it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and run a new piece up behind the wall, over the beam, and come over here and attach up here where it's normally attached right there. So I'm gonna just basically get this water line behind the wall and out of this room. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. But for today, I just wanted to show you what I've done so far. This only took me about 5 hours to do. And again, that's taking my time, filming, measuring, cutting, and all the above. But I'm gonna go ahead tonight, put some foam pads right here, just staple them to the 2x4 walls. And then I have some blackout curtains I'm gonna put up here for now, just so I can move my golf hitting net over to here, because very soon I'm gonna end up building a custom screen here for a golf impact screen, and I'll film that at a later date. But this is it for now. Okay, so here we go. Again, I just temporarily put some foam padding behind the curtains just to pretty much protect the water lines. I hung up the black curtains behind there and temporarily put my golf hitting net here, and I have my artificial turf sitting right here, clubs right here. So again, this is just the start of a really cool theater slash golf simulator room. And I'll come over from this side. So again, my golf simulator was over here, but when you come down here, this is all gonna be finished. And again, over here, I'm gonna have pretty much like a 9x12 screen right here. Projector is gonna go up here and project down at the screen. I probably will have some couches and chairs over here, but I can always move them out of the way when I actually want to use the simulator, because this is also going to be a dual purpose room. It's going to be a theater room and a golf simulator room. But I have more room overall than I did over here. So again, this is a much bigger area here. So it's going to work out great. And again, once I get the rest of this finished, this whole basement's going to look awesome. But this is going to be a project that's going to take probably into next year, because I have a lot of things going on and I just don't have the time to do it all at the same time. But I wanted to get started, and so far Day one, we did accomplish a good bit. Let me see if I can pan out here. There. I probably will have enough wood over here to maybe finish this wall right here. And then I'll probably have to go back to the store and buy more because I have to finish all these walls over here. And it's gonna, at that corner here, come straight up this line all the way to here. That's gonna be walled off. I'll have a door here, and then there's gonna be a door over here because back there is my rough plumbing for the bathroom. And then all this over here is just gonna be pretty much storage, but this is all gonna be eventually finished. But again, stay tuned. If you ever thought about finishing your basement and you just didn't know where to start or didn't know what to do or did not have enough confidence in yourself to do it, don't worry about it, because again, you don't have to be a professional carpenter or anything like that to do this. This is a DIY project. You just have to give yourself a little bit of confidence and have some faith in your own skills that you can do it. And that's what my channel was all about, trying to do stuff that's going to save you money, but also something that you could do yourself, which is what my videos are all about. So again, if you're excited to see how this is all going to turn out, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot more videos to come. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned at least something as a takeaway from this video. And again, even if it's just one small thing, that makes my day, that I was able to help at least somebody out there. So do me a favor, like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments section, and I will try to get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. And do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, because it definitely helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. So again, that's it. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I truly appreciate you all. Thank you. And as always, see you in the next video.